My name is Kelsey Reed. I'm 27, and last Saturday, I watched my sister Lily's wedding fall apart, right there in front of my eyes, from the comfort of my Napa apartment. You can watch the whole thing online. At least, that's what my parents insisted I do after everything went south between us. So, reluctantly, I did. The live stream was crystal clear, showing every little detail until the moment the camera froze, right in the middle of pure chaos. Lily was screaming, glass shattering, and my family was losing its grip on everything. That image frozen on my screen became the perfect snapshot of a day that was supposed to be the highlight of my sister's life. But before I dive into how Lily's perfect day turned into a viral disaster, I have to tell you about the years leading up to this point, years of pressure, expectations, and the perfect image we were all trying to maintain. Lily and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's 3 years younger than me, and let's just say she's always been the golden child. Growing up, it felt like I was always a few steps behind her in every category. When I brought home B+ grades, she had straight A's. When I joined the softball team, she became team captain and homecoming queen. Our childhood bedroom? Well, it was split right down the middle. Lily's side was neat, lined with shelves of trophies and honor roll certificates. My side? Band posters, half-finished craft projects, and unfinished dreams. I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" My mom would sigh dramatically, adjusting my rebellious fashion choices before family photos, while Lily stood there already perfect. That smile she gave me, the one that was all sympathy for everyone else but meant I win again to me, yeah, I never forgot it. Don't get me wrong, there were moments that were good. Late night talks about boys, Lily teaching me how to apply eyeliner without poking my eye out. And we stuck together when our parents hit a rough patch when I was 14. But those moments always felt temporary. Islands of connection in an ocean of competition I could never win. When I graduated from college, I shocked everyone by turning down a job near home. Instead, I moved to Napa Valley for a position at a digital marketing agency. My parents acted like I'd announced I was running away to join the circus. "But what about Sunday family dinners?" my mom asked, as if that was the most important thing in the world. Meanwhile, Lily did what everyone expected her to do. She moved back home, got a teaching job at the same elementary school she'd attended, and started dating Ethan Green, who was everything our family could have hoped for. Ethan's family owned half the car dealerships in our town. They were the kind of people who spend their weekends at charity galas and had been known to make donations to fund a new wing for the local library. It was the perfect match. When Ethan proposed, the wedding planning took over our family's life. The group chat was full of constant messages about floral arrangements, venue choices, and bridesmaid dress drama. I wasn't really involved, except for sending obligatory "wow, beautiful" responses to the endless photo updates. Then the invitation came, thick cream envelope, real calligraphy, the works. Inside was a note from Lily. "I hope you can make it home for my special day. I've saved you a spot as a bridesmaid, though Chloe Lawson is my maid of honor, of course." That last part? Yeah. It stung. Chloe had only been Lily's friend since college, while I had been her sister for 27 years. But I swallowed my pride, called her up, and accepted the invitation. That's when everything started to go downhill. The first real crack in the facade came when I asked a simple question about the bridesmaid dresses. "The dresses aren't very forgiving," my mom said when I called her about the fitting. "Maybe you should try that diet I sent you the article about before you come for the fitting." I felt a pit in my stomach. "Mom, I'm not dieting to fit into some dress for one day," I replied, my voice tight. "Well, Lily wants everything perfect, and the photographer will be very expensive," she said, as if that explained everything. One comment led to another, and old wounds were reopened. I mentioned how I'd always felt like the family disappointment. I brought up my career choices, my lack of a serious relationship. My mom didn't hold back. She started defending Lily, saying I was making her wedding about my issues again. Finally, I snapped. "Fine. I won't ruin your perfect photos with my imperfect body. I'm not coming," I said, and hung up before I could say anything else I would regret. I cried for an hour after that. I knew this wasn't just about the dress or the wedding. It was about the way my family had always made me feel like I wasn't enough. I wasn't perfect enough to be part of their picture-perfect world. Later that night, my dad called with what he thought was a reasonable compromise. "You can watch the wedding online," he said, his voice weary from years of mediating between my sister and me. "We're having it professionally streamed for the relatives who can't travel. It might be better this way. Less pressure for everyone." I agreed. A part of me was relieved. No dress, no judgment, no uncomfortable questions about why I was still single. I could support Lily without having to subject myself to the family's uncomfortable expectations. As the wedding date neared, I learned more about Lily's transformation from my cousin Chloe. Bailey, the Lily I used to know, had completely changed. My sister, the girl who once was so independent, had become a full-blown Bridezilla. The wedding had ballooned to 300 guests, complete with ice sculptures, a 10-piece band, and personalized everything. Ryan's mom, Marilyn Green, had taken control of every detail. Lily was caught in the middle, trying to please Marilyn and still create her perfect day. I started to feel a little guilty. Maybe I should have just been there. Then, the night before the wedding, I got the live stream link from my dad with a simple message. "Lily says she wishes you were here. No apology, but it's something." I went to bed that night feeling torn, a mix of guilt for not being there, but also relief. No awkward moments, no confrontations. I could stay away from the family drama and just watch from a distance. The morning of Lily's wedding, I woke up early. Despite being in a different time zone, my nerves got the best of me. I couldn't sleep much. I spent more time on my appearance than I'd ever intended to, even though I was just going to watch the ceremony from my couch. I couldn't bring myself to sit there in sweatpants, staring at my sister's wedding day on a screen. I had to be put together, at least for my own peace of mind. So I put on a navy blue dress I'd intended to wear as a guest, applied my makeup carefully, and styled my hair. My apartment suddenly felt like a mini wedding venue. I hung string lights around my living room for a festive feel, set up my laptop on the coffee table, and pulled together a spread that would make any caterer proud. A cheese plate, chocolate-covered strawberries, and a bottle of champagne I'd been saving for a special occasion. "Cheers to you, Lily," I whispered into my empty apartment, raising my glass as I took a sip. "Hope your day is as perfect as you are." The live stream was set to begin 30 minutes before the ceremony, and when the time finally came, I clicked the link. My heart fluttered as I waited for it to load. Nothing happened. I refreshed the page. Still nothing. I waited a few more minutes, then clicked the link again. Nothing. By this time, I was starting to panic. 10 minutes passed, then 20, and I was about to text Chloe for updates when, finally, the screen flickered to life. The camera panned across the country club garden where the ceremony was about to take place. Rows of white chairs, each adorned with blush pink ribbons, faced an elaborate floral arch. Mountains of pale roses cascaded from pedestals, and crystal vases caught the sunlight, sending colorful prisms across the manicured lawn. It looked perfect, just like I'd imagined. The camera zoomed in on arriving guests. I recognized my mom's college friends, distant relatives, and neighbors who'd watched Lily and me grow up. Everyone looked so elegant. But there was a palpable divide. My mom's side of the family sat on one side, while Ryan's relatives clustered on the other, their designer outfits screaming old money. Then, the camera moved to the bridal suite. Lily sat at a vanity, wearing a robe while a stylist arranged her veil. She looked breathtaking, but tense. The smile on her face seemed forced, like she was trying to hold everything together for the cameras. Behind her, her bridesmaids fluttered around, trying to offer last-minute reassurance. "Is everything okay?" one of them asked her nervously. Lily's voice was sharp. "Is everything okay?" One of the bridesmaids quickly checked her phone. "Yes. Just checking the time. We're right on schedule." The camera shifted, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in my stomach. Lily's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. There was something wrong. something I couldn't place. The live stream had captured so much, but I couldn't help but feel like I was missing something. Then, the camera jumped to the groom's room. Ethan and his groomsmen were getting ready. Ethan knocked back a shot of whiskey while his best man clapped him on the back. From the corner of the room, I saw Marilyn Green, standing by the wedding planner, speaking in low, intense tones. The camera tried to focus on other parts of the scene, but it seemed like everything was a little off. Something wasn't right. As the ceremony began, I texted Chloe again. Everything okay there? Lily looked stressed. Chloe's response came quickly. So much drama behind the scenes. Tell you later. As the guests found their seats and the ceremony officially started, I watched as my father and Marilyn Green took their seats in the front row. My mother, as always, looked immaculate. But my dad, he was tugging at his collar, clearly uncomfortable. Next to Ryan's father, whose posture was rigid and unwelcoming, the music changed, and the procession started. Bridesmaids paired with groomsmen walked down the aisle, followed by Chloe, the maid of honor, walking alone with a bouquet that probably cost more than my rent. Then, the moment I'd been waiting for. Lily appeared on my father's arm. A vision. In her lace and crystal gown, her cathedral train requiring 2 flower girls to manage it. Her smile seemed perfect, but I saw the way her eyes kept darting to Ryan's side of the aisle, almost as if seeking his approval. I texted Chloe again. Anything going on behind the scenes? Lily's looking a little tense. Her reply was quick. So much tension, Mackenzie. This wedding is a disaster waiting to happen. As the ceremony went on, I felt a mixture of regret and relief. Part of me wished I had been there for her, but another part of me knew I was seeing something that Lily couldn't see for herself. The vows were exchanged, but due to another technical issue, I missed most of it. When the screen finally came back to life, I saw the moment I dreaded. Ethan kissed Lily, and the crowd stood and cheered. The camera captured their picture-perfect walk down the aisle, but there was something wrong. I couldn't shake it. As the newlyweds walked back down the aisle, the camera panned over the guests' faces, capturing both genuine smiles and a lot of forced ones. The divide between the families was obvious. Ryan's relatives were practically glued to their own side, barely acknowledging Lily's side of the family. I couldn't help but feel that something much deeper was happening. Something no one was willing to talk about. The reception followed, and I could feel the tension ramping up. The live stream followed the wedding party to a picturesque bridge for their photos. The photographer had them all positioned, Ethan and Lily in the center, flanked by both sides of their families. But what struck me immediately was how separate the 2 sides of the families were. Sullivans on one side, Reeds on the other. Everyone was trying so hard to maintain appearances, but the lines between them were getting sharper, more defined with each passing minute. The photographer was trying to make light of it, saying, "Come on, let's move closer, like you actually like each other." But no one seemed to find it funny. The camera caught Chloe standing slightly apart from the others, still glued to her phone, checking something urgently. When Ethan's best man whispered something to her, she immediately moved away. That was when I first started to notice that Chloe wasn't her usual calm self. She looked like she was trying to hold something back, something big. Then, without warning, the microphone picked up the conversation between Marilyn and my mom. "I still think the orchids were a waste," Marilyn was saying, her voice carrying clearly across the venue. "Nobody appreciates the difference, and they'll die before the reception even ends." My mom, still holding onto her role as Lily's protector, shot back, "Bailey wanted orchids, and it's her wedding day." I could see Lily's smile falter, but she kept it up for the cameras. Ethan, oblivious to the drama unfolding around him, was busy straightening his cufflinks. The tension in the air was palpable, and I was starting to feel it from across the screen. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a battlefield, and Lily was stuck in the middle of it. As the reception continued, the camera followed the wedding party to the ballroom. The venue had been transformed into a floral wonderland. Crystal chandeliers, long banquet tables with extravagant centerpieces, and the towering 8-tier cake shining under a spotlight. Everything looked perfect, but I could feel the cracks. beneath the surface growing wider. When the seating arrangements were revealed, it felt like a political statement. Our side of the family was seated on the left side of the room, while the Sullivans dominated the right side. My dad, seated at the head of the table, looked more out of place than ever beside Ryan's father, who had the look of a man who wished he could be anywhere else. I sent another quick text to Chloe. "What's with the seating arrangement? It's like we're in separate worlds." Her reply came quickly. "Tension's been building for weeks. Marilyn keeps changing everything Lily wanted. Ryan was 2 hours late to the rehearsal dinner last night. Drunk. Big fight after." I was shocked. Lily had barely mentioned any of this. It felt like everything was being swept under the rug, and I was only getting glimpses of the truth. The worst part? Lily had been in the dark about it all too. And then came the first toast of the night from Ethan's best man, who, clearly already intoxicated, staggered to his feet with the microphone in hand. "I've known Ryan since college," he started, clearly trying to lighten the mood. "Back when he was working his way through the sorority houses." He paused, expecting laughter, but none came. "Just kidding," he added, his voice faltering. "Mrs. Sullivan, kind of." I watched as Marilyn's face froze, her eyes narrowing at the best man. The awkwardness hung in the air, thick with tension. "Seriously, though," the best man continued. "Ryan settled down now. Mostly. Bailey, you're getting a great guy." He winked, and that was when the room collectively cringed. Bailey's smile became so stiff, I almost felt bad for her. Jessica, the maid of honor, stepped forward for her toast. It was polite, but something about it felt rehearsed. She barely looked at Ethan, her eyes mostly on Bailey, as though she was avoiding confrontation at all costs. The night wore on, and I watched it all unfold from the screen. Ethan drank steadily, becoming less and less coordinated, while Bailey looked more and more disillusioned. The perfect wedding was rapidly turning into a nightmare. Then, things took a turn. Lily and Ethan took to the dance floor for their first dance. As they swayed to Perfect by Ed Sheeran, the camera captured the oddest moment. Ethan looked distracted, his gaze constantly shifting toward the entrance, as though he was expecting someone or maybe even hoping to escape. And then the unexpected happened. The DJ's voice echoed through the ballroom. "Mrs. Patricia Sullivan has arranged a special surprise for the newlyweds." Lily froze. Ryan's expression shifted from confusion to panic. My heart was racing. I had no idea what was coming next, but I knew that whatever it was, it wouldn't be good. The music faded, and all eyes turned toward the screen that was descending from the ceiling. The lights dimmed, and the room fell into an uneasy hush. A video was about to play, something that had been orchestrated. I could feel it in my gut. I watched, knowing this would only make things worse. The slideshow began with Ryan's childhood photos, sweet, innocent moments of him growing up, then his college years, and it was all normal. But something changed in the music, and with it, the tone of the slideshow. It was like the air in the room got thicker. Suddenly, a beautiful blonde woman appeared in the photos. At first, it was just group shots, nothing out of the ordinary. But soon, it became clear this woman wasn't just any friend. In each image, she was more intimate with Ryan. They were together at parties than at formal events, laughing, holding hands. And in one shot, they were kissing. I could feel my heart sink for Lily. She looked up at the screen in disbelief, her hand flying to her mouth as she whispered, "Who is she?" The music changed again, this time to a song I couldn't quite place, but it carried a melancholic, almost sinister tone. The slideshow continued with more pictures, more intimate moments of Ryan and the blonde woman, Diana, at what seemed like recent events. A Christmas party from last year, a ski trip just a couple of months ago. The images rolled past, one after the other. It was like time stopped. The room erupted into whispers. People didn't know what to say. Guests were looking around at each other, exchanging glances, trying to piece together what was happening. The camera zoomed in on Lily's face, but there was nothing left but shock. Her eyes moved from the screen to Ryan, and then to his mother, who stood smugly in the background, completely unfazed by the storm she had just unleashed. Diana's face appeared on the final slide, holding a handwritten sign that said, "Congratulations, Ryan. Call me when you're ready for the real thing. Love always, Diana." The video ended abruptly, and the room fell into a deathly silence. Lily stood there in the middle of the dance floor, her face pale, eyes wide with disbelief, her jaw working as if trying to find words, but nothing came. She managed only one word, "Diana." Ryan was frozen, his champagne glass half raised. His whole body went rigid, his face betraying a man who had just watched his entire world start to unravel. "Ryan," Lily's voice was a whisper, almost breaking. "Who is she?" Ryan opened his mouth, his voice trembling. "She's just an ex. Nothing serious, ex." Lily spat, her voice rising. "You've been lying to me, haven't you?" Before Ryan could reply, Marilyn Green stepped forward, with the same cold, calculated expression she had been wearing throughout the night. "She's Diana Winters, from the Winters family in Greenwich," Marilyn said, her voice oozing with importance. She and Ryan were practically engaged before this hasty arrangement. Lily's face went red, her eyes wide with disbelief as her mother-in-law casually dropped the bomb. Lily didn't flinch, but the pain was evident in her eyes. She turned to Ryan, her voice rising, trembling with raw emotion. "So this is just about money, isn't it? A business deal for your family. You never cared about me. You were never going to tear up that prenup, were you? You don't even know what love is." Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came out. The truth was too much. His face was a mask of guilt and confusion. His gaze shifted from Lily to his family, and then, slowly, toward the exit. "Do you think I'm just a pawn for your family's money?" Lily's voice now carried a steely edge. "Well, I've had enough." Without another word, she turned and ripped the diamond ring off her finger. In a blur of motion, she threw it at Ryan's face. The massive diamond soared through the air, missing him by inches, and landed with a spectacular splash in the champagne fountain, sending bubbles and splashes everywhere. Ryan's brother, who had been silently watching, stood up in a rage, lunging toward Lily. But before he could reach her, Chloe, Lily's best friend, stepped forward and blocked him, throwing a quick elbow to his ribs that sent him stumbling into a nearby table of champagne glasses. They shattered across the floor, the sound ringing through the chaos. The room was now in complete turmoil. The wedding cake, that grand 8-tiered masterpiece, teetered precariously on its stand, and as Ryan's father went to grab Lily's arm, my dad moved in to protect her, shoving him back with a force that was shocking. "You don't touch my daughter," my dad shouted, as Ryan's father lost his balance and stumbled backward, crashing into the cake table. The cake toppled. In slow motion, it came down, cascading across the floor in a wide avalanche of fondant and raspberry filling. The silence that followed was brief, but in that moment, it felt like everything had come to a head. Diana, of course, was the first to laugh, her voice cutting through the tension. "Well, that's certainly symbolic." And then, Lily did something I had never expected. In the middle of all the chaos amidst broken glass, the wedding cake disaster, and the screaming family, Lily stepped up. She turned to Ryan, the love of her life, and said with quiet finality, "You think this is funny? You think this is worth all the manipulation, the lies, the control you and your family have put on me? I've had enough." With those words, Lily pulled herself out of the madness, ripping her bouquet free from Patricia's grip and throwing it directly into Ryan's face. The room erupted into chaos once more, with people scrambling in every direction, shouting, arguing, and trying to process what had just happened. Ryan's brother tried to lunge at Lily again, but Chloe swiftly stepped in and managed to push him away. Meanwhile, Ryan stood there, completely frozen, his expression unreadable. The tension in the air was suffocating. Guests were looking at each other, some recording the entire disaster on their phones, others just staring in disbelief, unsure how to react. Lily stood in the middle of the destruction, her wedding dress now torn at the shoulder, her face streaked with tears, but there was a newfound clarity in her eyes. She had come to a realization that No matter how perfect everything had seemed, her life had been built on lies. And at that moment, she was done. She turned to the camera, which had been rolling throughout the entire disaster, capturing her every move. I could see her eyes lock on the lens, as if looking directly at me. And in that moment, everything changed. You were right to stay away. Lily's voice broke through the silence. Her words carried across the room like a thunderclap. The image on my screen froze again, but this time, it wasn't a glitch. The screen stayed frozen on Lily's face, her tear-streaked cheeks illuminated by the lights, her expression a mixture of pain and strength. I couldn't move. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trying to refresh the screen, trying to make sense of everything I had just witnessed. But the image remained frozen like a snapshot of a life crashing down. A perfect facade completely shattered. For what felt like an eternity, the live stream remained stuck. I kept refreshing, hoping the stream would come back to life, but nothing changed. It was as if time itself had stopped in that frozen moment of destruction. The destruction of a wedding, the destruction of a family, and the destruction of my sister's perfect life. I took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of guilt and relief. I had seen everything. The lies, the manipulation, the control. Lily had finally seen it too. And though it had come at the cost of her wedding, I knew it was the beginning of her freedom. It wasn't until hours later, around midnight, that my phone buzzed with a notification. I opened the message, expecting to see a text from family, but instead, I saw something worse. The Sullivan wedding disaster was trending. I clicked on the link, and my stomach dropped. Video clips from the event were circulating online. Moments of Bailey throwing champagne at Ryan, my father shoving Ryan's father into the wedding cake, and most damning of all, Diana's dramatic entrance. Every piece of the chaos was now available for the public to witness. What had been a family disaster was now a public spectacle. The comments were brutal. People were mocking my family, treating our pain as entertainment. My heart sank as I read through the tweets and messages, the cruelty pouring in from every direction. I felt sick. It had been bad enough when it was just our family. Now the world was watching, and they were enjoying it. I immediately deleted the app, sickened by what I was seeing. But then, a text from Heather came through. Oh my God, Mackenzie. It was even worse after the stream cut out. I could barely process the words before I quickly replied. Is Lily okay? Where is she? She's with your parents at their house, Heather responded. They confiscated everyone's phones after the police arrived. The police? I almost screamed. What happened? Well, Ryan's brother tried to physically stop Lily from leaving, and your dad stepped in. It escalated from there. No arrests, but there were threats on both sides. The Sullivans are damage controlling like crazy. I sat there, my heart heavy. The images of my sister's wedding day, her dream day, flashed before my eyes. The betrayal, the lies, and now the legal battles that would follow. I had never imagined that something like this would happen. A few hours passed, and I was still glued to my phone, unable to escape the flood of messages. As the clock ticked into the early hours of the morning, my phone finally rang. It was my father. Mackenzie, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you, my dad said, his voice low and weary. I shook my head even though he couldn't see me. Dad, I should have been there. I saw it all. I saw her. I saw everything go wrong. Honestly, Mackenzie, you were the smart one, my dad replied, his voice tinged with exhaustion. You saw something in Ryan that the rest of us missed. She was too blinded by him, by the idea of a perfect life. How's Lily? I asked, the concern flooding back. She's devastated, Mackenzie. But I think, somewhere deep down, she knows it was all a lie. It's going to take time for her to come to terms with it. I nodded to myself, understanding how much pain she was in. And yet, there was a strange sense of relief in knowing she was finally seeing the truth. It wasn't until the next morning that I heard from Lily herself. Her voice cracked as she spoke, but there was a strength in her words that hadn't been there the day before. You were right not to come, she said immediately. That wasn't a wedding. It was a business merger disguised as a ceremony. I'm so sorry, I whispered, my throat tight. I should have been there for you. And done what? Lily responded, a soft laugh in her voice. Threw champagne at Ryan's side? You did the right thing by staying away. I needed to see it all. The truth was right in front of me all along. She paused for a moment before speaking again. But the worst part is, Diana wasn't even a surprise. I saw the signs months ago, but I wanted to believe Ryan. I wanted to believe that it was just her trying to hold on. But now, I see it for what it was. It was a painful conversation, but it was also healing. We talked for nearly 2 hours, piecing together the story of what had happened before the wedding, during the wedding, and after. Lily wasn't the perfect, composed sister anymore. She was raw and real. As we hung up, I knew that things wouldn't be easy, but at least now, Lily could start the process of healing. She would no longer be confined by the Sullivans' expectations, or the lies they had made her live by. The next few days passed in a blur of legal meetings, phone calls, and tense conversations. The Sullivans were relentless in their attempts to rewrite the narrative, but Lily was done being their pawn. She wasn't going to be silenced by their money, their connections, or their manipulations. No matter how much they tried to spin the situation, she now had the power to control her own story. Lily and I met with her lawyer, a woman who specialized in high-profile divorces, and after reviewing the footage from the live stream and the documents detailing Ryan's ongoing relationship with Diana, she smiled with confidence. You're in a strong position, Mrs. Sullivan, or should I say Miss Miller? Lily chuckled, but it wasn't a light-hearted laugh. Definitely Miller, she replied firmly. The decision was made. She was taking back her life, starting with that name. We have everything we need, the lawyer continued. This entire wedding, this entire humiliation, it's their doing. The live stream evidence, combined with the hotel receipts and the email exchanges, gives us leverage. I believe we can not only secure your financial freedom, but potentially secure a settlement for emotional distress and career disruption. It was a relief to know that the Sullivans had underestimated Lily. She was no longer the naive bride. She was now a woman with purpose. With the weight of the Sullivans' betrayal and the public spectacle, she had a chance to break free from everything they had tried to force her to become. The negotiations with the Sullivans weren't easy. It felt like every inch of progress was hard-won. Their lawyer tried to offer money in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement, but Lily stood her ground. I don't want your money, she declared. What I want is a public apology to my family for the humiliation you've caused us, my job back as a teacher with a letter of recommendation, and all wedding gifts to be donated to the domestic violence shelter I volunteer at. The Sullivan lawyer was silent for a moment, then nodded. We'll agree to most of that, but no public apology. We're not going that far. Lily didn't flinch. Then I'll walk away from this meeting and let it all unfold on its own. It's up to you. After hours of back and forth, the Sullivans agreed to the majority of Lily's terms. They wanted this nightmare to end. It wasn't about right or wrong. It was about damage control. They didn't want any more dirt to come out. 6 months later, things had changed drastically for both of us. Lily had moved to Denver to start over. She took a teaching position at a progressive elementary school, and I couldn't believe the transformation in her. The same woman who had once tried so desperately to fit into the Sullivan mold was now embracing her new life, her new identity, with a sense of freedom I hadn't seen in her before. We started a weekly Sunday dinner tradition, sometimes cooking together, sometimes exploring the best restaurants Denver had to offer. It was the perfect way to reconnect, and it felt like we were building something real, something we could both be proud of. One evening, during dinner, Lily raised her glass for a toast to catastrophes that turn out to be rescue missions. She said, a twinkle in her eye. I clinked my glass against hers and replied, to sisters who find each other again in the wreckage. Lily smiled, the weight of the past no longer hanging over her. You know, she said, I never properly thanked you for what you did. I raised an eyebrow. For what? Missing your wedding and watching your humiliation online? She laughed, the sound more genuine than I had heard in years. No, for being my witness. Everyone else was caught up in the moment, either defending Ryan or his family, but you saw it for what it was. You didn't just witness it, you understood it. Well, I replied with a grin. Someone had to be the one with perspective. Our relationship with our parents had improved too. The weeks following the wedding disaster had been tough. My mom, who had once been a perfectionist, started to see how much her obsession with appearances had affected Lily and me. She called weekly to check in on both of us, and slowly, she began to understand that we weren't failures or disappointments, but women who had simply been trying to live our lives on our own terms. And then there was my father. He had become Lily's unexpected champion, standing up to relatives who questioned her decisions. For once, he wasn't just a distant father figure, he was actively trying to make things right. Drop a comment below and share a time when a catastrophe turned into an opportunity in your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about family drama, rebuilding after catastrophe, and finding your own truth along the way. And remember, sometimes the people watching from a distance see things most clearly. Thanks for being my witness today, and I'll see you in the next video.